to our podcast, Two Hags Chinwag. I'm Susie.
I'm Trish.
And we just wanted to welcome you. I'm laughing because this is our third take.
Yeah.
We did two previously, one last Friday and one the other day, and the sound was bad and the picture was bad, but we went through the whole thing. It was like over an hour before we discovered it. So this is our third take, and we figure third time lucky, and everything's happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So first of all, we want to thank all our new subscribers. We're very excited. What did you tell me we were at now?
27 now.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's quite a jump. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So, our goal is to bring information and community and a little bit of fun. So we want to bring the mundane into the magical and the magical into the mundane. And we just want to engage with you. So anytime you have any comments or questions, please feel free to reach out to us on our YouTube or Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Hearth and Hawthorne is that right? Yeah.
That's my Instagram.
That's your Instagram.
Yeah.
So we're going to each do a little talk. Trisha's going to do the main talk today, and then we're going to talk about what bubbles my cauldron and what boils Trisha's cauldron over. And we're going to hopefully have some engaging conversation between the two of us and a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like take three. So we did the same topic twice in a row, and then when the second time around, the sound didn't work at all, so we couldn't hear a thing. So when I left Susie's house on Wednesday, I was like, I am not talking about this again. I can't repeat it for a third time because it just loses its spontaneity and whatever. So I decided that I'm going to save what I was going to talk about for next year. So it'll give us a whole year to not, to forget about it, I guess, a little bit, to bring back that good interaction. And on the topic of new subscribers, I just want to shout out to Nicole today. She sent me a lovely message, and we've been sort of messaging back and forth today on Instagram, and she's local, which is exciting. And but yeah, so hi Nicole.
Hi.
And so I've learned two things from her messaging me today. One is that people actually listen to our podcast as a podcast and not watch it as a video. So that's what Nicole was saying. She listens to us in her car.
Oh.
So that made me realize that when we show something, we should describe it. So that's just a little thing that we just assumed everybody was watching, even though I did make it available as a podcast on YouTube. I just didn't think anybody was watching or listening that way. So that's great. Thanks, Nicole, for saying that. So I'm glad that you said that. And the second thing is, and on the subscriber thing, is that so 27 is obviously very small for YouTube, but and at least my vision for this channel is for it to grow. But what I'm really enjoying right now is that it is small, and that when somebody messages me, I can take the time, or if somebody sends a message to Susie on Facebook in her group or whatever, like we can actually take the time to read the comments and respond to them. So that's the fun part of a small channel, because you get to know people. And I feel like now Nicole and I were talking, and we travel a similar route every day, the 101 highway. And so I'm like, I just feel like I've made a new friend in a way, So yeah, that's the good thing about a small channel. And so I'm enjoying the slow growth of it, but also look forward to having a bigger channel. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was I follow this witchy Instagram account. And account is a Polish folk witch. Yeah, so this week she had posted on Instagram a little reel about how she's been getting flack from pagans, in particular, about how she incorporates her Catholicism, because it's, it's a very big part of the culture in Europe, Catholicism, and region surrounding. She was apparently getting a lot of flack about her doing magic with Epiphany, when it was Epiphany, and her having statues of Mary and that kind of thing. And that's something that kind of made me angry for her, and she was very good about it, explaining it and why she does it, but you could tell that she was very sort of frustrated by it. And I commented on it about saying that I have strong Catholic background, like through Susie's family and just through my French culture. I will say I'm Catholic by default just because of my French culture. That is a part of me that I never really want to give up. It's not something. I don't go to church. I don't go to a Catholic church. I love their masses and I love all their the rituals. I love the music. I love the visuals. I love a lot about Catholicism, but I also hate a lot of things too. And so I don't go to church, but I incorporate a lot of that Catholic Christian spirituality into my own witchy practice. And the thing that bothers me, I think, the most, I can see why Christians would be all up in arms about integrating their religion with paganism, because to them it's very clear the two can't mix, right? But for pagans to do that, for witches to do that, I find that really unsettling. I feel like we should be a little more open-minded towards Christianity and incorporating certain things in Christianity.
There's a lot of witchcraft that incorporates saints and Catholicism and psalms.
Yeah, like voodoo
Santiera,
and hoodoo and that. Yeah, definitely. Like there's a lot of practices out there that do integrate it, but I don't know why she was getting so much.
There's always gatekeepers.
Yeah,
like they have to pound their chest and say, I know what's proper and right.
Yeah,
and there's no such thing to me in spirituality.
Yeah,
it's all source.
Yeah, I struggled a long time with trying to integrate the two, because I've read the Bible like a few times, front to back. I've studied the Bible. I know what it says in there about divination and witches and, paganism. And I struggled with having that duality of loving my sort of Catholic spirituality, but also loving paganism. And I struggled a very long time with trying to integrate the two. And after a while, I was like, I don't think I can. I have to choose one or the other. And I tried that, but that didn't work either. So I was very frustrated with that. But I don't understand on the other side of it, like, why do pagans feel like you can't integrate Christianity with it, other than, but yeah, sure, the Christian Bible says, suffer the witches and all that stuff. But if you're a pagan, do you really truly believe that the Bible is 100% the Word of God? I don't think I don't think pagans do and should really. So even if the Bible says that, what does it matter to us? As long as the Christians themselves aren't coming to you and burning down your house and burning you at the stake kind of thing. But if they're just leaving you alone and you want to integrate the good parts of their religion, then I don't see what the problem is with that. But it took me a long time to get there. I do believe that the Bible is a sacred text, and it has so many beautiful spiritual lessons, and also the poetics of it. I love reading some of the Bible. Some of it is a little wacky for me, but still, that sort of amuses me, just how there's some wacky parts in it. So I do believe that there's a sacredness to Christianity and to the Bible. To me, it's not questionable whether Jesus existed. He existed. It's historically out there in documents. So, whether you believe he's the only Son of God, or, did he perform all these miracles? Was it from a virgin birth? What does any of that matter? It doesn't matter, But these are things that I incorporate into my practice. I incorporate teachings from Christianity. I incorporate teachings from the gospel of Jesus. I incorporate a lot of the Catholic practices, like the Virgin Mary and the saints. And so there's a lot of things that I incorporate into my magic now that I don't feel bad about anymore. I feel like the teachings of Christianity are universal, and it's powerful. Like, you can't deny the power behind the Christian faith. There's thousands of years of knowledge and practice, and there's so much power behind it because so many people believe in it. And to me, that's a power I want to tap into.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't want people to feel like they have to choose between one or the other. I have books on saints. I have the Bible. I have the statue of Mary and Joseph, and St. Francis. And I love the virgin birth story. I love the nativity scenes. Like, I love all that stuff. I was just reading a book recently, and it was called, I forget the name of the author, but it was called A Witch in Darkness. And in it, she's like, just don't feel like you're limited to a particular deity. If sometimes you need to call on the Morgan or the Kalia or the Bridget or whatever, you might have a patron deity or a patron goddess, but sometimes you may need to call on somebody else, especially when you're in a moment of darkness. And I find I get a lot of comfort, not necessarily from Jesus, but from the Christian God. Sometimes when I feel like I just need this all-empowering sort of supposedly loving God, sometimes I call on the Christian God to help me get through some things, or I'll pray to the Virgin Mary. So when she said that, when I read that in the book, I was like, thank you for saying that, right? Because it's such a struggle for so many people. that have grown up in a Christian home and are finding their way into the pagan, the witchy path, and they're feeling all this guilt and shame, and I felt all those things too. You know, I did. I really struggled with that, and I don't see the message of Jesus in particular. If you're Christian, you follow Jesus. So the message of Jesus to me does not preclude you from incorporating what he says or what the
well, when he was preaching, he wasn't a Christian, was he?
No.
Christianity wasn't born until after.
Yeah, he was Jewish. Yeah, Christianity is I want to say like man-made, but not man-made.
It's morphed, right?
Yes.
So when you think about when Christianity came to Europe and the Celts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their goddess Bridget became Saint Bridget.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can talk about how Christmas has been co-opted.
Yeah.
You know, the roots of that were pagan. And it's just so intertwined to me that I don't understand why you would be upset over someone incorporating Christianity into their pagan practice when it all meshed in the beginning anyway. Right? You've borrowed, you know, Christianity borrowed from paganism borrowed from Christianity. Like, how is that different? And then when I think about, you know, my mom, she was a very spiritual person, but you had to express it through the church. She didn't have the option that we have, you know, to have our own practice, what calls us. So in her later years, after they just lost faith in the Catholic Church because of the scandal with the priests, she just said, you know what, it doesn't matter anymore whether I go to church or not. It's what's in my heart. And you can express your faith however you want to express your faith. You're not going to go to hell. That's sad. And you know, we had talked before about, you know, is your faith coming from a place of love or a place of fear? And if you tell me I'm going to go to hell, you're teaching me my faith through a place of fear. No thanks.
Actually, I learned just recently in my sort of studies of the Nordic paganism and Hel, you know, the goddess Hel, Hel. That's where Hel, the word Hel, came from. And so when the Christians first started evangelizing in like Norse regions and Nordic regions, they sort of worked together in a way that Hel, the goddess of Hell, told the Christian Satan that you stay in your corner and I'll stay in my corner. So they sort of coexisted, you know, so the underworld was shared between Satan and Hel, the goddess, according to the beginnings, I guess, of Norse paganism. So I thought that was really cool, how they work together. And Celtic Christianity is so pagan in so many ways, but you know, their prayers are very nature based, and they view Christ in a different way than North American views of Christ. So there's it can work together. It's the having to tell yourself that you're not going to the Christian hell, and if you were, what is it exactly? You know, is it just the underworld, like hell in the Norse paganism?
Persephone, the myth of Persephone going into the underworld for 6 months of the year, and that wasn't a problem for her.
Exactly.
She hung out, you know, she had a good time, and then she came back up to spend some time with her mom. Sounds good to me. Best of both worlds.
Exactly. There's just, again, best of both worlds, like the best of the underworld and the I don't know, the world that's in the light. I don't know what that is.
Well, it's a shame that the underworld is associated with evil,
Yes,
with darkness and with evil,
yeah,
because part of our life is spent in darkness,
yeah,
right? So on the physical plane, and some people feel more comfortable in the dark, like goth and vampire culture and all of that. I don't see anything wrong with it as long as you're not sucking people's blood to kill them or anything like that.
I want to suck your blood.
If it is something that you feel is your reality, who am I to tell you it's not, as long as you're not breaking the physical laws of man.
I don't know, that kind of made me sad for her, that to get flack like that. So when I said something about, how I do my practice, and I said fundamental Catholics would hate what I'm doing and say I'm going to hell. And then I said, in the extreme Pagans, say that you can't do both and whatever. And I said, like, you just can't please anybody, right? The point is to do your practice and how it pleases you. And as long as it's not hurting somebody terribly, because I am not one of those white light witches either. So I do believe in hexes, and I do believe in that gray area when it's warranted. It's not something I generally do, but if I ever felt the need to do it, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. I wouldn't hesitate to put a hex on, or
in a warrior protective way, you mean? Like, you're not wishing harm on someone. Is it more to ward off somebody's psychic attack, or like, what can you give an example of what you would?
It's more like if I knew somebody, like, again, I've never actually done it, but if I was put in this position that somebody was threatening me, like threatening
Threatening you with a knife.
Yeah. I won't curse you though. If somebody was threatening me or my property or my family, my animals, I wouldn't hesitate to put, and not just a warding thing. I would do that. I would put wards up and protective barriers up on a magical level, but I would also send something their way that they would regret even thinking about doing harm. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know how that would look, because I've never had to do it, but I also don't pretend to be somebody who would say, and harm none, because sometimes it's like they say, the truth hurts. Sometimes you have to hurt to get a lesson. I believe, anyway. Not everything comes in the form of positive energy or, rainbows and roses. Sometimes you have to be told the truth, or you have to feel the truth, or you have to feel the consequences of your actions. Hi, kitty.
Yeah, like for me, I've done a mirror spell. So I want that person to see the harm that they're doing, to see that their actions have consequences. So I'm not like outwardly throwing malevolence at them, but what you said, you want them to see the harm, you want them to feel that. That's a lesson you're teaching them, you're helping them to see. And if that has no effect and they continue their behavior, then you're gonna have to
amp it up a little,
because that person is not going to, and maybe it won't even affect them. Maybe they're just that blinded by their own arrogance and their own ego.
some people just, it doesn't matter how nicely you talk to somebody or how much you explain your feelings. Some people are just, and this does come from my sort of Catholic background. I do believe in evil. Hi, oh my God, look at the
For
kitty.
people listening to the podcast and not seeing, I've got my orange kitty.
He's so big.
If you might have heard him crying in the background.
Yeah, oh, look at them. Oh. So yeah, so I do believe that there's evil. I believe there's demons. I believe there's Satan, but I also question whether or not he's as bad as they say he is. Because I've even studied Satanism, never practiced it, but I'm very much a spiritual, like, I don't want to call myself a scholar, but I love studying all spiritual paths. And I did study Satanism. I had Anton LaVey's Satan Bible. I can't remember what it's called now, Satan's Bible or something. So I read that, and and when I read it, I was like, wait, actually, man, we've totally misconstrued what Satanism actually is. But there's always crazies in every religion, right?
Absolutely.
So there's
they ruin it.
Yeah, exactly. There's always the fundamentalists in all religions. Clearly, there's even some in paganism and witchcraft, right?
Yeah.
So the purists, the whatever they are, the extremists,
they would find something.
They would.
To for their agenda, and
Exactly.
their agenda is one of fear and ego and self, right?
Yeah.
So it's always self-serving.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people go under the guise of being a spiritual leader, and before the truth is revealed, they can do some harm.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, we watched this show. This is a little tangent here. Katie and I watched a show called Evil Lives Here, and it's really a fascinating show. If you like true crime, amazing show. I am very much a true crime person because I love the psychology behind it. But this show, the majority of the people, the evil people, are either they're usually men. But they're usually husbands, spouses. It's usually domestic violence. But the other big evil personality are religious leaders, like cult leaders, religious Christian. The Christian extremists are just fucking nuts. Like, they're just crazy.
And those polygamists, that practice polygamy?
Yes,
Yeah,
like
that's not spiritual.
No, oh my God, it's so clearly self-serving, and that's when I read the Bible. There's moments in it I was like, that is divine. That was divinely inspired, and then there's other moments I was like, yeah, no. That was man. That was man saying, putting these fears in people so that they had power, and like even the. Do you remember back in the 90s the books called Conversation with God? Mm-hmm. It was Neil Donald Walsh. Mm-hmm. I read every single one of those
Probably
books.
In my bookcase somewhere.
Yeah, so they're really good books, but at the same time, a lot of it I was like, yeah, that's definitely divinely inspired through him. And there's other times where I was like, no, that's not. That's his lens. You could see the author's lens in what he was writing. So the discernment is really important when you're looking all these different spiritual paths and integrating them into your own practice.
I think there's a danger in blindly following anything or anyone, where you give up your sovereignty and you give up your control.
Yeah.
And that worries me. And I think about that with the recent spate locally of domestic violence.
Yeah.
I think that, unfortunately, a lot of women, especially if you're financially tied to your spouse and you have children that you're worried about, you lose your sovereignty and your control. And, one thing that I learned through studying Hecate and witchcraft through Dr. Cindy Brannon, she talks a lot about sovereignty. And, she had her own journey to become sovereign. I think all of us do, especially women of a certain generation where we were, taught to be people pleasers and don't speak up for yourself and, sacrifice.
Yeah.
And, that's something I'm very grateful for in studying witchcraft, is knowing that I'm answerable to myself. I can think for myself. And, even like I said with my mom towards the end, she just said, all of that is BS, that she had to convert to Catholicism when she married Dad. She had quite an eclectic background of churches that she went to with her different sets of parents and grandparents and things like that. So she, was very spiritual without being tied to any one doctrine. And then, she always kind of resented having to convert to Catholicism. Although she loved all the ritual as well. And she loved the hymns and everything. But just knowing that you have choices and, you do have your own power, and it's very difficult to break out of situations that you're in where you have lost your power. And, this whole thing with narcissists, like you see it all over Facebook, narcissist this, narcissist that. You know what? Just do your research, find your community, talk to people, get some help, and, don't rely on the latest buzzwords or,
Although I gotta say the buzzword narcissist helped me.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, sometimes the buzzwords do help educate people, but it was like that whole trend of empath, that word. Cringe. I cringe when I hear that.
It's like an excuse. I'm an empath, therefore, I'm sensitive and I can't do this and I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I agree 100% with bringing the awareness and learning about things, but then it gets overused and then it gets used as an excuse.
Yeah.
So, I'm all about taking responsibility. I've always been like that. And we all can sort of fall into the, oh, poor pitiful me, or, this happened to me, so that's why I'm like this. That's fine too. But again, in witchcraft and spirituality, you learn how to take back control of self, and you learn how to take responsibility, and you learn that there are ways of moving through this life that don't harm and take away from others. And, please do take care of yourself. And do your research, and again, reach out if you're having mental health issues, or you're in a situation where you're surrounded by toxic people and you can't see a way out. I just really wish people the best to find your way forward and to live your best life. Because I've had my mental health struggles, and I can still feel myself sometimes slip into a little bit of a dark hole. And honestly, it was spirituality and witchcraft that pulled me out. Not to say I did do it myself. I'm just saying that was
a tool,
and a light did go on, and I found my community, which I'm so grateful for.
You'll have to excuse me because I'm very much a deep thinker. So I take things and I go further with them. So I tend to rant a little bit sometimes or go down rabbit holes. But when I was studying all my different paths and whatnot, in the opposite of witchcraft, where you take care of yourself and you empower yourself, there was an appealing part of Christianity to me where, because sometimes, no matter what the hell you do, you're still struggling. So there was this appeal to me with Christianity where I was just like, you know what? I'm offering it up to God because I can't do anymore.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that part of Christianity really appeals to me, because sometimes you're in a situation that you can't get out of just yet, or you haven't found a way yet, or you haven't met somebody that can help you, like an angel on earth, or whatever it is that you're stuck in. And definitely learn to empower yourself, but don't feel like you're weak because you can't get out of the situation at that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
and
I
I think
mean?
that's what the Serenity Prayer does for people when they go into Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. That doesn't appeal to me, that Serenity Prayer, but I understand it. I understand that people at that moment need to know that they're not alone and that they can just surrender.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And that's why, we're such a good pairing, because you are the deep thinker and I'm just like oh yeah. Yeah, it's cool, it's great. Let's go. But I love those conversations. Like, I really crave those. I need those.
Me too, yeah.
Because the light and fluffy just bores me to tears after a
Yeah.
while. I appreciate it in a moment, but
yeah. And I, again, going off a little bit, but I try to find some YouTube channels on witchcraft, and I for the most part, I can't watch a lot of them because I'm sick and tired of the fluffy stuff. Like, go deeper. Tell me more. Go, like, bring that into a deeper practice and deeper thoughts. So I get very frustrated with that, and I find that's why I haven't found a community. Susie's found a community. I haven't really found a community because I do have that sort of Catholic Christian bent to it, but I also am very into witchcraft, magic, the spiritual realm, and I love talking about it. I love sharing spiritual experiences, and some people just get weirded out by it. If I was listening to a previous podcast we did, and I talked about where I saw a path illuminate, and when I tell people that, I can see their eyes starting to glaze over. It's like, oh my God, she's imagining things or whatever. But to me, and I know we talked about this in the 2 podcasts that didn't make it, but to me, imagination is part of magic. It's part of reality. Just because it's imagined, it doesn't mean it's not real. Everything we see that humankind has made, it has started from imagination. And magic spells start with imagination. It's so important. So now I just ignore that. I've come to a point in my practice where I'm comfortable and I feel strong in it. I'm not feeling so insecure about it. So when people start to glaze over, roll their eyes, or I know they're talking to their spouse about me later, oh yeah, she's seeing things, or I don't care anymore, because I see it as, actually, it's sad for you because you can't see it. You can't see the wonder in this world. You can't see the magic in this world. And that, to me, is a sad point of view.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that childlike wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like when we were kids, we were so much more open. And it's sad that that's been, sort of beaten out of us because of the reactions of people. And again, that's fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and we also talked about in our fail podcast that unfortunately, because there is a lot of fear from the spiritual, that people close themselves off to it.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose your ability to be in touch with the, what do you call it? The interwebs? The spiritual interwebs?
Yeah, the spirit, like the interspirit net. Because I feel like everything's connected in the spiritual realm, the plants, the animals, the people's souls, even inanimate. I'm definitely an animist.
Yes.
So, like even inanimate objects have an energy that all connects to this spiritual realm, this web. And there's the internet, and then there's the spirit net. So I just kind of call it the interspirit net. But yeah, that wonderment is, I mean, that web is there, and that's what, when you're in this state of awe and imagination and overwhelming love for something that you can't even explain, like, oh, I love this tree so much, and you feel this thing that happens inside of you that's either sometimes it makes you sad because you can't put a word to that feeling. It's like that ineffable feeling that you get. But I remember one time I was in my garden in the city, and there was just this tiny little raindrop inside of a flower. I ran inside the house and I said to Katie, you have to come see this. Because it was just the way the sun was hitting it. It was in a pansy, like a wild pansy. You know, the Johnny jump ups, I think people call those. Yeah. So it was in a wild pansy. So there was just this perfect little sphere of a water droplet, and the sun was hitting it just perfectly. So I ran in the house. I said, Katie, you have to come out and see this. So she's thinking I'm going to show her something absolutely like, you know, somebody killed somebody in the street or something. So she comes out, and I show her the flower with the water drop in it. And she's like, I would have noticed that. And she's like, you know, that's why I love you so much, because you notice these things that she said, I don't notice. And I was like, so I think like just being open to, because to me that was a spiritual experience. It was physical, but it wasn't a spiritual experience. To me, it looked like a little crystal ball. Like a little fairy put this crystal ball. That's, in my mind, that's where I went with it. A little flower sprite or something. Put a little crystal ball. Anyway, yeah.
That's adorable. I love that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah. So what was your little chat?
Well, you know, like every day I come up with more subjects and things that I want to talk about.
Sorry, I'm going to pop this can.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I wanted to just talk about, you know, we call ourselves two hags, chinwag, and we reclaimed the word hag and the word crone. And I just want the listeners to know that as you age and you gain wisdom, it's really wonderful. And I never would have thought, you know, when I was 20 and 30, that I would be excited to get old. So when I turned 50, I was just so excited. And I gathered my friends together and we had a croning ceremony. So I declared myself as a crone. And then when I was turning 60, and I couldn't really wrap my head around that number, but I really felt, again, I felt really magical. And I felt like, you know, I can say things now that I couldn't say before. I can stand up for myself. I can stand up for others. And I just want you to know that no matter what age you are, whether, you know, whatever gender you identify as, just feel your own power. Just, you know, grab onto the power of the crone. Like, we're with you. You know, we're here to tell you that, you know, life gets better, and you know, study and absorb all the things, right? Like you talk about, you know, you like to study, you know, that is scholarly to me. Yeah. And, you know, I have all these books. You can't see I have 2 bookcases just packed. And I said my New Year's resolution was to read more books that I have. I just feel like having them, I'm just absorbing their knowledge just by having them in the room. So yeah, that's what makes my cauldron bubble and tingle, is just feeling the power and the beauty of being this age, and of being a woman, or like I said, you know, no matter what gender you are, whatever you identify as, be that. If it's authentic, be that, right? Like, you know, you are who you are, I am who I am. I've stopped apologizing now and making excuses and hiding. So, you know, I'm not like really out there at work, but, you know, pretty much everybody knows from my Facebook page and my Instagram page that, you know, and I don't, you know, go around labeling myself, but yeah, I love witchcraft. I like to study and practice and do little things. You know, you don't have to make big statements, you know, lighting a candle, making a wish, you know, throwing out your good intentions, you know, to other people throughout the day. Like, whatever you do, feel it. Don't apologize for it. Set your boundaries. Say no to people who take away your joy, and just live your life. We're meant to be happy and fulfilled in this world. And, you know, I have my dark days, like I said, and I have days where I can't really do too much. So what I do is I just do some breathing, some breath work. And, you know, I talk to my mom on the other side, and, you know, I just say, you know, send me strength, send me some grace, and pretty soon I feel better.
Yeah, I don't really talk to anybody in particular on the other side, because the people that I know on the other side, well, except maybe I could talk to your mom. I never really thought of talking to your mom. Yeah, I never really thought of talking to your mom. But like my dad, when he passed away, I was in my early 20s, and I didn't really know him that well, so I didn't really have that sort of connection to him, except for his and my very similar interests in sort of living off the land. I didn't realize until later on. I was like, oh yeah, my dad was like that, because I've always wanted to be like a homesteader and live off the land kind of thing. And then I realized my dad was like that. I had forgotten that. But anyway, so sometimes when I do sort of homesteady things at the house, I do sort of talk to my dad. But I don't find I have that person that I can, that I looked up to for knowledge-wise, or a comfort or nurturing, I guess. My daughter's on the other side, but she was younger than me. She probably has way more wisdom than I do right now, but I feel weird about saying, hey, Alicia, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do now? It feels weird. I do talk to her, but I don't necessarily ask for guidance, although I have maybe once or twice, or I'll say, like, you're up there, can you just watch out for me, you know, be my little angel up in there, up in the other realm. But so I don't have that person, I guess. I don't have a specific ancestor to go to. And so I guess that's why I've sort of always looked at different religions and gods and goddesses and saints and stuff, but I could never fully connect to one. Although I feel like I'm connecting to one goddess now. And I don't know where we were going with it.
Where are we ever going
with things? Where was I going with this? But anyway, yeah, so forget it. I don't know. I'm going to stop right there. But I remember when you were saying that you wanted to talk about aging and stuff, like that was something that we decided we wanted to do, was to add that sort of component into our podcast. We want to talk about the physical challenges of aging, the mental challenges of aging, the joys of aging, the benefits of aging. We want to talk about some of the mundane stuff as well. We want to integrate that. And I see we have a little bit of time, so I was just wondering if you had something you wanted to...
about positive aging and health?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could get on my soapbox for sure about just the way that commercialism has misdirected us into what we should be eating. Not so much Canada's food guide, because there's some good things in that, but you know, when you're watching TV commercials and you know they're promoting this and promoting that, and like my Jamie says, you know, how can you believe something because they're just going to change it, you know, in a couple of years. But
yeah,
just a couple things that I've learned is that seed oils are just horrendous for you. So I'm talking about sunflower oil, safflower oil, and you know, even some vegetable and corn oil. Just, they're horrendous for inflammation, and inflammation is the number one, to me, health problem, because it masks itself. It just works its way into our system, and we think we're really sick, and it's really the inflammation. So a lot of my IBS is from inflammation. So if I can implore you to do one thing, it's cut out seed oils. So I only use, my number one is avocado oil. Olive oil is great, and coconut oil is good too. So avocado oil has a really high smoke point, so it's great to fry with and cook with. Although I use my air fryer for most things now anyway, so I don't use a lot of oil anymore. But just please do some research. There's a lot of really great information on YouTube. Dr. Eric Berg and, oh, I forget that other doctor's name, but yeah, so Jamie and I, we've watched a lot of YouTube videos just trying to get our health back on track. So I've gotten rid of my fatty liver, and I've brought my cholesterol down. And I did that through eating better and doing my research. And my other great love is intermittent fasting. There's another catchy phrase for it. I can't remember what they call it.
Oh, is there? Oh,
yeah, there's another one. Because people go, ooh, fasting, right? Like, ooh. And I honestly, I never thought I could do it. It's like, what are you, crazy? Not eat? So I do 16-8. So I fast for 16 hours and I eat for 8 hours. Not steady, but so the worst thing is like the snacking, right? The evening snacking. So after 4 o'clock, I don't eat. Now, that's not hard and fast, like if I'm having a family dinner or something. You know, I don't fret myself over it. But I work as hard as I can not to do those snacky things. So sugar is the enemy. Inflammatory foods are the enemy. And, you know, just please, if you're feeling unwell, I found a really good naturopath, and I'm not exaggerating, and I don't want to tear up, but she saved my life.
Wow.
Yeah, she really did. She listened to me. She read all my medical tests, right? Because I've had every test you could possibly imagine because of my IBS. It was so bad. And she read all those, and she read my blood work, and she worked with that. So she's not like, you know, just prescribing things, you know, willy-nilly. She knows her stuff. I mean, a naturopathic doctor knows more about holistic, digestive, how everything integrates and works together than your GP does, or most GPs anyway. So those are, my number ones, I guess. I've
just been starting to make changes myself, and so I won't go into detail because it's getting long, but I'd like to share about that next time too, because I've only been doing this for a few weeks, but I'm already seeing such a difference in inflammation. So, and that is like inflammation. Chronic inflammation is like the cancer causing, heart disease causing, digestive issues, like even might even be linked to migraines too. I have read some research that it's linked to migraines. Certain types of migraines, I think they're called cascading migraines, so which I suffer from. I get migraines. So yeah, inflammation is a huge thing to work on. So yeah, but I won't go into it, but I will maybe next time I can share what I'm doing and how I'm feeling differently. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Because you can't be witchy if you're not feeling well, right? Like
Yeah.
it affects you that way,
Yeah.
right? So I just feel bad for people who have chronic conditions because I've suffered since my 20s.
Yeah.
And I still get IBS flares where I'm just, down and out and that leads to depression too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're trying to, just have all of the information all flow together, right? Like everything's connected.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you're on your own journey and you're finding information with us and you're doing some research too and reaching out. So
yeah, it's all, like you said, mind, body, spirit. All the information's important. The physical, mental information and the spiritual information, it all connects. And I remember one time reading something where I think it was Buddhist maybe, where they say that if you're too laden down with food, you can't reach those spiritual levels because you're too heavy. You're too heavy psychologically, but you're also too heavy physically. And if your body is constantly fighting like inflammation or something, it's harder for you to get out of your body to work the spiritual realm and the magical realm. That's why a lot of religions have fasting in them. I'm not a good faster because when I fast, I get migraines. But I feel like I have to get to a certain point in my health and then I can start fasting. So, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, like don't blindly follow my advice or someone on YouTube. Like I had to do a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
To reach the fasting point for me.
Yeah.
But I don't have those dips anymore. Like I don't have those hypoglycemic, sugar highs and lows. So I'm just kind of steady. And after I lost my weight, now I've maintained it. It's been a year of maintaining my weight. So my body went, yeah, you're done. Like you've reached, the weight I think you should be.
Right.
And the intermittent fasting just helps me just stay steady.
Okay.
So I can do a side video
Yeah.
if you want a little more information. So
yeah, cool. All right.
Awesome.
So hopefully the sound is good on this. Because if not,
no, I won't deal with that well.
Well, neither of us dealt with it very well last time. We were both like, what the actual fuck is happening here? So
we thought we were cursed.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, everybody. We'll say we're going to put the lid on the cauldron.
That's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, and
take care.
Use your imagination always.
Yes.
Yeah. Bye.
Cheers.